Hello and welcome. This is Lisa Waring of Full Moon Wares. Thank you so much for joining me and crafting along with my Let's Make Spun Cotton Icicles kit. In this video, you will learn traditional techniques for spinning cotton to create charming antique-inspired icicle ornaments, perfect for the winter holidays. Let's get started. First, I'm going to walk you through the contents of your kit. We'll start with the photo card. This features a picture of some of the icicles that I've done in the past, and this will give you a good idea of what yours will look like when you're finished. After that, we have the wire. This is a 22 gauge dark annealed iron wire. And the reason why I like this wire for this project is because it's still thin and fine enough that it has a pretty delicate look to it, but it's rigid enough so that when you spin the cotton around it, it's not going to bend all over the place and be difficult to work with. I also like the kind of like rustic finish of it. I think it gives it kind of an aged look. So this is my wire of choice when I make the icicles, 22 gauge dark annealed iron wire. After that, we'll talk about the cotton. This is white cotton sliver. So if you look online and you want to get more of this, you'll need to look in a fiber arts shop. People commonly use this to spin cotton yarn. It's obviously also used to make spun cotton, and it's combed clean cotton that's brushed into a rope, basically. You can pull it and you can start to see the fibers separate. This one in particular is called white cotton sliver, just plain white cotton sliver. There are many varieties that will be white in color, but the texture is different. I recommend the plain white cotton sliver, or Pima white cotton sliver is also nice. Some of the others can be really slippery and they have shorter fibers, so when you work with them, they're either difficult to spin or really messy. And this one is actually the least expensive one. If you can't find cotton sliver, another thing that you can use is called cotton coil. And that's a beauty product, so you can find that on a roll in a beauty supply shop. And it will look like basically a long roll of cotton balls. And you can treat it similarly to the cotton sliver. So that will also work. After that, we have this little pouch that will contain this, which is the real mica glitter. This is just a blend of different sizes of mica and actually some crushed German glass glitter that I put in there too. It's just a special blend that I made for the icicle kit to make them extra shimmery. And lastly, we just have a muslin storage pouch. When you're not using your icicles or displaying them, you can keep them inside of here. So that's everything in the kit. And next I'm going to tell you about some supplies that you'll need. Now I'm going to show you just a few supplies that you'll need to complete the kit. First of all, I want to point out that I have protected my work surface with a piece of parchment paper. I really like parchment paper for this because nothing sticks to it, and it's really readily available. This one is actually a parchment sheet, so they'll come on a roll but pre-cut, and that makes it really convenient. After that, we have a drying tray. You're going to use this to dry your icicles, and this is just an enameled tray. You could use a cookie sheet, a glass baking dish, or whatever you have. And I've just lined it with another piece of parchment paper so the icicles don't stick while they're drying. We're gonna need something to measure the wire and the cotton. So just a foot long simple ruler will work perfectly for that. You're gonna need some glue. This is just Elmer's white glue or PVA glue, white craft glue. That's what I recommend for this. And with that glue, you're going to use it to make a simple glue wash. So I'm going to tell you how I do that. It's 1 part of the white glue and 4 parts of hot or warm water. You're going to want the water to be hot or warm because it will help the glue dissolve. You'll get a more even glue wash if you start with the hot or warm water. You can put it in a jar and put the lid on and shake it up, or just put it in a glass container that you're going to be working out of and mix it with a paintbrush. So 1 part glue to 4 parts hot or warm water. And I'm going to tell you about the paintbrushes that I like to use for spun cotton. This is a number 4 Sable fan brush. A fan brush I find works very well for spun cotton because it has a really light touch. And when you're applying the glue wash, you want to do that lightly so you don't disturb the cotton or drag pieces of it off. And the fan brush works very well for that. So I'd recommend getting one of these. Another brush that we're going to need is just a wide flat paintbrush. We're going to use this you can use it for the glue wash, but also for the glue when we apply the glitter later. Any kind of wide flat paintbrush will do, but this is a number 11 filbert tip brush. And filbert tip brushes are one of my favorites for spun cotton as well. So I'm gonna put that back. On the tray, we have some round nose pliers. These aren't required for this. You could just use regular pliers, but we're gonna create the hooks for the icicles with these. So I like to have something round to help shape that, and you'll see that in the next step. They're really inexpensive, and you can buy them in a kit online or a set with also some wire cutters and needle nose pliers. So you're also going to need the wire cutters, and you might be able to find them in a set, like I said, with the round nose pliers. And lastly, I just like to keep a towel or paper towel or something on hand because this can get a little bit messy. Okay, let's get started. This is step 1, and in this step, I'm going to show you how to make the hooks for your icicles, or what really is just a simple wire armature to spin your icicle on. So this is what the hooks will look like when you're finished. Here's several that I've done ahead of time. And you can see they have like a little crook and a little swirl right there, which is what I use the round nose pliers for. So let me show you how to make these. I'll set that aside. So we have the 22 gauge dark annealed wire here. The icicles that we're going to be making, I'll show you an example, are 4 inches long on the cotton part here, and the whole thing measures 5 inches. So we're going to cut a 6-inch piece of wire to create this size. So in the kit, you'll have enough material to make 15 of these. So I said 12 with a little bit of extra. You could make up to 15, but you might need some for practice. So if you measure it all out correctly, you can get 15 out of this kit. So we're going to start by measuring a 6-inch piece of wire to create an icicle in this size. Let me set that one aside. And here's the wire that I get. It comes on the spool like this. This wire can be a little bit dirty. Because of the way that it's processed, there's sometimes like a black dusty finish on it. And if you find that is on your wire, you might just want to wipe it off a little bit. The wire that I put in the kit shouldn't have that, but in the future you might see that on some of this wire. So I like to make these before I get the cotton out because they can leave some like black marks on things. So I'm just straightening the wire out a little bit. And you don't have to be too precise here, but I'm gonna just lay it against my ruler and cut it at the 6-inch mark. And And I'm gonna do another one since this is rolled out. So kind of straighten it out before you cut it, and then right at the 6-inch mark, and we'll set that aside. Now, I'm gonna turn it around here so you can see the next part of making one of these. So again, you can kind of straighten it out a bit, and I like to lay it right against the ruler, and where we want to bend the wire is at the 5-inch mark. So I'll take the top of my hand here and place a finger on the 5 inches and then just bend like that. So you'll have a little hook there. I'll do it to this one. Straighten it out. You can straighten this out too by like running it along the side of a table. I like to do it like that sometimes. So here's the 5-inch mark. I'm gonna put some pressure there and just grab the other end and bend it. So now we have two. You could use them like this, but if you have the round nose plier or even a little like paintbrush, you can make a little swirl on the end to make it just a little more decorative by grabbing it right at the end and just twisting it around until it meets the wire. So you'll have something like this. Just do another one. And I don't like to go around too many times because we've measured out to create the icicles in the size that we want, the 4 inches. So if you keep swirling all the way up, you'll lose some of that size. All right, I'm just gonna squeeze that down. And that's it. That's all you need to do to create the hooks or the wire armatures. This is step 2, and in this step, I'm going to show you how to prepare the cotton for spinning. So this is the cotton that came in the kit, the white cotton sliver, and like we talked about earlier, it's sort of like a rope of loosely combed cotton. Now, to make something like this that tapers down, we're going to need to divide the rope into thinner pieces. You can't really use it right out of the bag and expect to make a refined shape like this. I always divide the cotton into thinner pieces. So for this project, we only need to divide it into 2 ropes. So that's quite easy to do. I'm gonna show you how to do that now. Before we divide the cotton, it is easier to divide shorter pieces. If you try to go all the way down and make 2 long, really long ropes of this, it would probably tear or become really uneven along the way. So ahead of time, we're going to measure out the cotton into 2-foot long pieces, just using the ruler, and I like to just lay it against it. You don't have to be exact. The icicles are all going to turn out a little bit differently. Some will be thicker, some will be thinner. That's how icicles are anyway. So, and spun cotton is, nothing's ever exactly the same. So now we have a 2-foot piece here, and this is going to be enough for 2 icicles. But before we spin, we're going to find the end and try to separate it into 2 even pieces, 2 pieces of even width. And you're just going to gently separate it. Be careful when you're separating it, and if it's twisted up, it tends to tear a little bit more, so I kind of try to make it nice and flat when I do that, and just have a nice light touch and gently coax it apart. So now we have 2 pieces. You'll see that the cotton kind of has a direction that the fibers are combed in, and if you want to, if you have a lot of flyaways, you can just kind of lightly run it through your hand just to tidy that up a bit. So there's 1 piece. Often when I work, I like to just kind of hang these over the back of a chair next to me. That keeps them nice and tidy, and it prevents them from breaking. You could kind of like curl them back up like this. Sometimes when you do that and you try to separate it again, it can rip, but I like to lay it over a chair back next to me. So there's 1. Here's the other one. Just do this with this one too. So there's enough for 2. I'll do one more so you can see that. And there's 2 feet. Now, you're gonna wanna prepare this ahead of time. I don't like to find myself in the middle of a project and then have to stop and prepare the cotton, because the glue wash can get pretty messy, and if you're trying to get some more cotton when you have glue wash on your hands, it becomes a problem. So I like to do all the cotton ahead of time. So if you know you want to sit down and make all of your icicles at one time, I would just take the time ahead to do this. But if you're only going to make 2 or 4 at one time, then just take the cotton off that you need. So I'm just going to divide it one more time. You can see how easy that is. Now don't worry, like I said, if one of these strands ends up being a little thicker than the other one or a little thinner than the other one, your icicles will just have some variation. So there's that. And now we have enough prepared for 4 icicles. This is step 3, and in this step, I'm going to show you how to spin the icicles. So here's one of the wire hooks or armatures that we created in the first step. And here's a piece of cotton from the last step. This is definitely going to be the hardest step of the entire process. It can take a little bit of practice, but there is extra in the kit. So most importantly, I just say take your time and have fun with it. So we're going to start the icicle right under where the hook is. I like to put my finger just like right at the top, pinch it. And this is a bare wire. If you've seen any of my other tutorials, I talk about spinning on a chenille pipe cleaner, a cotton pipe cleaner. And that is very easy to do because the cotton can grip onto the cotton of the pipe cleaner very easily. With this bare wire, it's a little bit trickier, but with this annealed iron wire, it does have some texture to it, so it's not quite that slippery. So you're gonna start right at the top here and just kind of pinch the cotton on. And what I'm gonna do with this hand is spin the wire, and with this hand, because I'm right-handed, I'm pinching the cotton and just applying gentle pressure while I'm spinning with this hand here. So I'm gonna spin around a couple times at the top. You'll notice that the cotton is kind of like a flat ribbon rather than a rope shape. And this helps it apply smoothly to the armature rather than be like a ridged rope going all the way down. So I like when the cotton is attaching to the wire to have a nice flat piece there that helps it lay down smoothly. So we are going to create a tapered look since this is an icicle. And to start doing that, I'm going to spin around a few times at the top here. And now as I go down the wire, I'm spinning and applying a gentle pressure with this hand. Spinning with the other hand. Now you can see I'm touching the cotton. And you can see it starts to get sometimes a little fuzzy like this. I'll pull the fibers a little bit to thin it out. The first layer of cotton doesn't have to be completely smooth because we are gonna go back the other way, but as smooth as you can get it, that'll help the next layer be smooth too. So I'm just twisting the wire. And now as I'm tapering, instead of having the cotton go on at this kind of an angle, I'm holding it more like this. So the application is more spread out rather than having it go around the wire more times to meet the end. If I hold it in an angle, it'll be less times to get down to the bottom, less spins around. So still pinching with this hand, applying a gentle pressure and spinning with this hand. I'm getting down to the tip now. When I get to the edge, I like to, or the end of the wire, gently tug at the fibers of the cotton to thin it out. So what you'll be putting on down at the bottom is a thinner piece. You don't want to tug too hard because it'll rip. If it does rip, you can pick it back up and put it on again and just keep going. But if you do a gentle tug, you can thin the fibers, and that'll help with the tapering effect too. So I've thinned them out nicely. Now we're gonna turn and go back the other direction. So I'm pinching pretty tightly here with my right hand at the end, and we're gonna go back the other way. You can see I'm starting to angle it the other way. And now I'm working on an angle in this direction rather than straight on like that, going this way, so there'll be less cotton to travel up towards the thicker part. When I start to get to the part that I want to be a little bit thicker, I'll decrease that a bit. Now my rope is a little twisted, so I've untwisted it so it'll apply flatter to the wire like we talked about at the beginning. I want that nice flat ribbon of cotton. Going up towards the top, spinning with this hand, pinching with this hand. Now you don't want to pinch so hard that you can barely move the thing. It's a gentle pressure, I'd say. So now we're at the top. Obviously this is probably going to be the thickest part of the icicle. So I'm going to go around a couple of times here. And don't worry about the fuzzy bits here or even down at the end. When we put the glue wash on, that will take care of that. So now I'm going back in the other direction at a slightly less of an angle because I want this part to be thicker. And now as I go down towards the point of the icicle, I'm going to start angling it a little bit more, and tapering it, tugging the cotton to thin the fibers. So I'm applying less here where I want it to be a bit thinner. And I'm getting down towards where I want to tear it off. I don't want to go all the way to the end again because I like the way that looks. So I'm going to tear this piece off, gently thin this out. Just be very careful here. And if you do this, that'll help smooth the tail in. If you don't tug the fibers like that, you'll just have an abrupt stop of the thicker cotton and there'll be a lump there. And this helps blend the cotton in. So you're gonna twist like we were doing before. I'm gonna tear off a little bit more and smooth that end on. So now you can do quite a lot of shaping by just turning it around in your fingers. So I like to smooth it like this. You can see that helps compress the cotton. You can kind of sculpt it like this too, and it keeps the cotton in place. You want to make sure you're always twisting in the same direction. If you started going the other way, the cotton's gonna unravel. So that bottom part looks nice. Now I'm gonna go do the top, holding it in my hand. I'm twisting this wire just to shape it, help shape it. And around the top here, how it's kind of fuzzy, you can kind of use the top of your finger to press that down. So once you're happy with it, we are gonna put some glue wash on. But before that, I'm gonna spin some more so you can watch that again. So this is what it should look like at the end of this step. And like I said, I've made very many of these, so it does take a little bit of practice to get the feel of it. But once you do it, you'll be able to do it again and again. So there's one. I'm gonna take this second piece of cotton from the last step, move that out of the way. And I have another hook that we made earlier. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I like to kind of unravel it first, like I said, so it doesn't go on twisted. It's more flat, the flat ribbon shape. I'm gonna start again right here under the hook. And the end piece is often like pretty thin because you tear it apart rather than cut it, so the fibers separate. So at the very beginning, I'm gonna go around a few times to build it up until you start to feel where the cotton starts getting thicker. All right, so I went around a few times there, straight on, not at an angle like that, because this is the thicker top of the icicle. Now I'm gonna start working my way down towards the tip. Now you can see here, there's like a little bump in the cotton. Don't worry about that. We'll cover that up when we go back up. There's lots of little imperfections that can happen along the way. You don't need to worry too much about it. So now I'm holding it at more of an angle, getting down towards the narrower tip of the icicle. And again, when I get to the edge, I'm gonna thin it out, giving it a couple tugs. Since I know the next part is going to be thinner, I'm gonna do that just a little ahead of time. Okay, I'm at the tip now. The fibers are nice and thinned. I'm gonna go back the other way and holding it at an angle to help taper it upward. Now I'm getting the thicker part. I'm gonna kind of decrease the angle a little bit. And I can see my cotton is not going on flat. You can see these little kind of bumps there, which is perfectly fine because icicles shaped like that. But if you want to make it smoother, just make sure you keep the cotton in that flat ribbon wrapping around the wire. So we're going up, back up towards the top. I'm going to spin around a few times there and go back the other direction. Now I'm going to start to thin it a little bit, because I know I'm going to be kind of tapering it downward. Tug and thin it a little bit and go at the angle downward. Now you'll see no two of these are ever alike. When you tear the cotton off, you get it as close as you can to, or when you separate the cotton in the last step, to equal, but it's probably impossible to do it completely equally. So this one's gonna look a little bit different than the last one. So now I'm reaching the bottom and I don't need this piece. I'm happy with the thickness of my icicle. Gently separating the fibers. And now I'm going to just blend that in. And here is the smoothing out. Secure the end first. And then work your way back up towards the top, shaping and smoothing with a gentle pressure in your hand. I'm gonna turn it around. And if this helps you to kind of like lift up the hook at this point, you can do that. I have it in my hand and I'm just holding it tight enough to apply a little bit of friction, just to give it something to spin against. I'm not squeezing it by any means. I'm just providing something for it to spin against and creating a little bit of friction there. Okay, and since we did bend that one, I'm going to bend that back down. And now that one is finished. So here's two, and you can see how they vary. Now we're going to do the glue wash. This is just the drying tray from before, and I just have the simple glue wash. You don't need a lot at all, really. It's just to keep the fibers secure and keep it from unraveling. So I'm going to use the fan brush for this and just do a really light coat. Just nice and light. Not a lot. And we are going to use some glue later to put the glitter on. Now, if you had a piece that you were unhappy with on your icicle, if you thought there was like a bump somewhere, once you put the glue wash on, you can also spin it some more in your hand. And when it's wet with the glue wash, it's a little easier to sculpt than when you're spinning the dry cotton. So you could, if you want your icicle to be even smoother, go back and spin it in your fingers a little bit while it's wet. So that one is ready to dry, and I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. Just a light coat of glue wash. There's a little bit of fuzz down there. I'm just like nitpicking now. I would normally just leave that. I like the kind of rustic or unfinished look of spun cotton sometimes. I think it just makes it more charming when it has some imperfections. So I'm just gonna do this a little bit here. And there's another pretty icicle ready to dry. So to dry these, I like to use my oven. I set my oven at 225 degrees, and my oven does have a convection bake setting. So I use that because it has a fan that blows the warm air over the icicles. You can use a hair dryer if you have it. You could just leave these on the table to dry. You could put them on a radiator, on the heat vent in your house. But what I like to do is the oven, 225 degrees, and really these are just gonna take just a minute or so. You wanna make sure they're completely dry before going on to the next step. So this is the end of step 3. Since the spinning is the trickiest part of this project, I'm just going to show you 2 more icicles. This is step 4, and in this step we're going to be glittering the icicles. So here are some of the finished icicles. They've come out of the oven, they're completely dry, and you can see how they look. If you like, you could leave them like this. They are really beautiful as they are with just the cotton, but if you want, you can always add the glitter. So this is the same glitter blend that's in your kit. It's a blend of large mica flake, crushed mica, and German glass glitter. And this type of glitter is what was used on Victorian ornaments. So when you use this, you'll get a really nice vintage or antique look. And here to apply it, I just have some Elmer's glue and the filbert brush. I like to do mine like this, where I have a little bit more glitter at the top and it kind of tapers off towards the bottom where there's like a little bit less. You can put on as much or as little as you like. So the way that I usually do it is I'll start at the top and just go around with a bit more glue and give the whole top a little coat, and then I'll just kind of drag the brush down. Make sure you get it all the way around, and then sprinkle it over. Tap it off a bit, and there you go. Just so pretty and sparkly. They look beautiful on a tree that's lit, and all the glitter will reflect the light, and they're just really pretty and festive. I'm gonna do one more. I do want to say, if you want to do a lot at once, you can take it outside and use spray adhesive and just spray them down and plop them into a box of glitter, shake it back and forth, and that way you'll have a really quick method of covering a lot of them at one time. You won't be able to control the glitter as much as you can when you do it by hand, but if you decided to get really crafty and make a whole bunch, that might be a way to speed up the process. Here was the glitter again. I love this part. And tap it off. Beautiful. So here are our icicles. And next I'm going to show you a way that I really like to present these for gift giving. So here are some of the finished icicles that I've prepared in little bundles for gift giving. And I just want to show you a couple different versions that I did here. Each of these bundles has 8 icicles. I think that makes a nice amount as a gift. And this one has some hand-dyed silk ribbon and some jingle bells. And this one here is held together with some silver bullion, another piece of silk ribbon, and some glitter stars as a decoration. So I just think these are really beautiful, very simple, and anybody would like to get these as a gift. So I'm going to show you kind of how I do that here. So here are 8 icicles that we did, and they're wrapped in the silver wire bullion. Bullion is a material that was used really often in making Victorian ornaments. So it has like a genuine antique look to it, which I think complements the spun cotton icicles really well. So it'll come in something like this, different colors and thicknesses. It's basically just like a crinkled wire that when you stretch it, it unravels, and it's super fine and really pretty and catches the light since it's crimped. So what I've done is just kind of wrap this around many times, and then you can just tear it off and then twist the 2 ends together. You'll have a little bundle. I like to start with that. This one, I didn't use any bullion. It's just a simple ribbon. And this one, you can see I use some silver again. It also comes in gold. It's pretty easy to use for this because it sticks to itself pretty easily, and will give you like a nice tight little bundle, and then plus like the authentic Victorian look. So I think I'm gonna do on this one some ribbon. This is another hand-dyed silk ribbon that was aged with a little bit of coffee, and I'm gonna just tie a simple bow around. I think that's pretty. I like to use coffee to antique or age things. It gives it like a really nice vintage look. So you can see that this was aged with instant coffee crystals. And I'm just gonna cut these off a little bit. It's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. There we go. And then you can just use various trims. This is just some like vintage plastic bells. I think these are pretty millinery holly leaf, and I really like the look of that together. So I'm just gonna stick this down in here. Hopefully it won't give me a hard time. Bend it over and trim it off with the wire cutter. Like that. And I think instead of holly berries, I think these little golden bells look really pretty. Same thing with them. Just gonna stick them down in there. You can get really creative with this and kind of use anything you have on hand. Some tinsel is nice. You could use a little pine cone. Of course, you can use the glitter that came in your kit and glitter some pine cones. Mercury beads are nice for this. I'm gonna cut this a little bit. And the little glittery stars that were in your kit, I've used on that one. Even a small Christmas ornament. Okay, there we go. And there's another one. Just really pretty, simple gift. We've reached the end of the project. I hope that you enjoyed our time together. I'd love to see your finished icicles, so please share them on social media and don't forget to tag me at Full Moon Wears. If you are interested in my other craft along tutorials or spun cotton creations, please visit my online store for more information. The link is in the video notes. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Full Moon Wears. Thank you so much for joining me, Lisa.